Connor here with Rust Belt Rambles, and this is downtown Pittsburgh here from the Fine View Overlook, and wave goodbye to it because we're going to be traveling. I'm headed out to California. I'm taking you guys with me. Let's go. Wall Trail, which is in the New River Gorge National Park. The New River just became a national park and a national river pretty recently, but despite being called the New River, it's actually part of one of the oldest rivers in America. So it is a tributary eventually of the Ohio. It meets it at Point Pleasant, West Virginia, up on the other side of the state, but it rises in the mountains of North Carolina and it flows north through the Appalachian Mountains and creates this canyon that goes all the way into West Virginia and out basically to Ohio and Kentucky. The river that it was part of, what's now called the Taze River, used to flow all the way to northern Illinois before turning south. And then as glaciers swept over North America, they changed where the water was draining and also just filled up a whole bunch of different valleys with glacial rubble and scoured other valleys and created the modern river systems that we have now, the Ohio, into the Mississippi. But this trail is right in the New River Gorge and has this amazing set of wildlife because this was the kind of interface between unglaciated coastal North America, East Coast, and the heartland. So any species trading that happened after cold intolerant species were wiped out during glaciation and needed to be reseeded up north, all of those species traveled through the New River in order to get here. And so there's traces in the plant and animal life here of mass migrations and recolonizations of the continent. The forest that we're in right now is a mix of hemlock, rhododendron, all kinds of ferns. I think I spotted a trillium, but it's wet here. It's June. It's kind of a cool day, so it's only 60 or 70 or so, but more than 100% humidity. You can see the water getting combed out of the air. And yeah, this does seem a little bit, oh hey birdie, natural for a Rust Belt ramble, but indeed, this valley is also a key part of the Rust Belt. The mountains here are the Appalachian Range, so older than the dinosaurs. You know, they arose 300 million years ago, and they have huge deposits of natural resources, coal and iron. So when Pittsburgh was making steel, and when the Rust Belt was an active factory belt, West Virginia, and specifically the New River Gorge, because they were able to put train lines down through the base of the gorge, became a massive site of mining, pulling coal out of the earth, pulling iron out of the earth, putting them on barges and on trains, sending them north to get turned into goods. Whoa, look at this. Check these bad boys out. And with all this humidity, it's having a hard time focusing. These little parasols are growing off of this tiny, tiny branch way down. Way down. Here we have Fern Creek. We're on a little bridge going over it. We're pretty close to the New River Gorge Canyon cliff wall. There are certainly a couple different kinds of rhododendron going on. These small guys are in bloom right now. They make these crazy inflorescences of a whole bunch of flowers. Right, and these ones in bloom are as opposed to these massive ones, which are not yet blooming, but the leaves are probably twice as big. It's claustrophobic in here, isn't it? This is what they call a laurel hell, rhododendron hell. There's nothing around us but rhododendron. Itty bitty path right there. And then just rhododendron. Totally surrounded by it. Hard to see the sky. Hard to see which trees are which. Can't spot any landmarks. Rhododendron hell. Imagine this was your overland travel. Hey buddy, I see you. Do you see me? And now we're down at the New River itself, down here at the bottom of the gorge. It's a pretty swiftly moving river. So the New River is part of what was called the Taze River, after a little hamlet further north in West Virginia. And the Taze River is what became the Ohio River. The Taze River is where the water flowed before it flowed the way the Ohio goes. It flowed basically across Indiana through northern Illinois. And this part of the New River is one of the last remaining kind of original channels of the Taze River, which makes it an old channel. This channel's something like 60 million years old, whereas the rest of the Ohio is only about 1 or 2 million years old, depending on kind of how you count the glaciation events and the ensuing water that came out of them. Whether the historical Lake Monongahela counts as kind of the Allegheny River, those kind of questions. But for a long time, mammals, plants, birds, they'd follow this river from the coasts out into the plains. Big highway out to the prairie land. Well, this is perhaps the least busy Amtrak station here in Prince, West Virginia. Though they are doing track maintenance on these CSX tracks. This is the main line that goes right through the New River Gorge. The New River's just off to the left right there. Oh, there's a dude working. Hey, buddy. So it's a pretty small station. It's got this awesome C&O logo. It's Prince, West Virginia. We're just a mile or two east of Prince, West Virginia. This is Quinnamont, West Virginia, and this is the Quinnamont Missionary Baptist Church, which was one of the first black churches in the New River Gorge Valley. It was founded in 1880, and the sort of iron and coal company that this whole area was founded around was founded in 1870 when they built this big iron furnace on the creek, Laurel Creek, down the road. And as the town built up, the black folks in the town wanted a church, and they built one, and this is it. It's just a pretty small little church back up off the highway here, but it's been around for 140 years down here in this valley. Buddy, you're gorgeous. Just hanging out. That's good. Across the road, that's pretty impressive. Well, good luck, buddy. This is how one enters Virginia from West Virginia. Go under East River Mountain, come out on this side of the watershed. And then drop in elevation until we get down into the Shenandoah Valley. Here you can really see the Appalachian tilt. Those old mountains, they've shifted quite a bit. Well, we're parked on the side of the highway here near Gate City, Virginia, far western part of Virginia, and I pulled over just to get this view of all this kudzu kind of back through my window here. This is the vine that ate the South. You can see that it has completely draped itself across all of this road cut, all the trees above it, all the trees to the side. It just absolutely turns into a monocrop, just totally consumes all of the stuff around it. This is a part of the mountains they call the Back of the Dragon. We're in far southern West Virginia, kind of right next to westernmost Virginia and the bottom of Kentucky and the very top of Tennessee. We are headed through this really mountainous terrain following this river tour right here to get to the Cumberland Gap. You can't drive through coastal Appalachia in the south without going through the Cumberland Gap. Johnson City, Tennessee, you gotta do the whole wagon wheel song. This is why you do this drive. This is just some of the most beautiful country in the country. Absolutely stunning landscape. We're still here on the Daniel Boone Wilderness Trail, also the Edgar Bacon Memorial Highway, but I wanted to show you guys this road cut so you can kind of see the geology. Those are the shale layers there, and they're at quite a tilt, and you can see looking further down the road cut that tilt kind of this way continues on down. So all of these mountains, all of this was laid down as sediment, and then as what became North America smashed into what became Europe, the buckling forces of that collision of the two tectonic plates, all of that buckling translated into vertical force. It pushed all of this, those mountains in the distance, this mountain close, all the mountains that you saw in that big panorama, thousands and thousands of feet up into the air. And that was 300 million years ago. And since then, these mountains have had a long time to settle down, to get less jagged, to be rounder, carved out by rivers. Just gorgeous country. Storms coming in. Look at those mountains. Hey buddies. Hello. You're just hanging out. Okay. Working hard, hardly working. Yeah. What are you guys up to? Just on break. That's cool. Well, see you around, man. It's the afternoon, and we are in the town of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. We're at the Oak Ridge Civic Center. So Oak Ridge was founded in 1942 as a wartime town. It was the site of the Manhattan Project, or at least one of the Manhattan Project sites. It was a secret city. It grew to be 60 or 70,000 people pretty much overnight. And it's where separating uranium into the kind that can be put into bombs versus the the other kind, which I think has fewer neutrons, is what happened here. And then all of that bomb material was shipped, I think, to Washington State and assembled there during the war. And my grandfather was a part of that work, as was my grandmother. And my father was actually born in Oak Ridge soon after the end of the war, as were many babies. But well after the war was over, the scientists here and the scientists in Japan formed a coalition. Folks who have worked with nuclear materials, it's a small group of physicists, and terrible things that we've done have caused us to link this fast-built town in the middle of Tennessee to two cities in Japan. This is the International Bell of Friendship, which was donated to Oak Ridge. It was cast in Japan. It weighs about 8,000 pounds. And it has on it a number of friezes. Pearl Harbor and Victory Day. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This panel here is of the ridges and valleys of Tennessee, and you can see the nuclear particle there emerging here and rising up over this bird. And here falling in the mountains of Japan. The people who built these things knew that they should never be used again, and this is a bell of friendship and peace that's for that purpose. I'm going to go ahead and ring it 3 times. there's significant traffic.